Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. The Royal Challengers Bangalore have beaten the Delhi Capitals by 16 runs. And going back to my preview, I actually couldn't pick a winner between these two sides, but I veered towards Delhi in the end because I still think they're the better team. And the way that RCB recovered after being 40 for 3 within 7 overs was a great effort. Mostly kind of three players really resurrected their innings. I thought Glenn Maxwell, Dinesh Karthik and Shahbaz Ahmed were outstanding. And from 40 for 3, they recovered to 189 for 5. And I thought, considering the games that we've seen in the Wankhede Stadium so far, they've not been as high scoring as in previous seasons. So I thought 189 for 5 was almost a game-breaking total that RCB posted in the first innings. And for Delhi, they looked like they'd get to this score, especially with the way that they started. 50 runs for the first wicket. And something that they'd rue is the fact that in the second wicket partnership, there was too much for David Warner to do. And had there been quick runs from both ends during that phase, they only lost by 16 runs at the end. And with the momentum they got from the start of the innings, Delhi should have really won the game, I thought. And regarding the starting 11s of both teams, one change for RCB, Harshal Patel back in the side for Akashdeep. And I think if we're looking at Akashdeep and Mohammad Siraj, look, it's a risk bowling one comfort zone bowler in your attack in T20 cricket, let alone two. And I think what they would have went with in this case was that if you're looking at a way to maximize the output of either of those players in a T20 innings, with Mohammad Siraj, we've seen that he moves the ball up front, and I think he should bowl 3, if not 4 overs up front. But we haven't seen like a kind of a phase that Akashdeep would be proficient at bowling in so far in kind of his short career at the top flight. And so again, he has gone for quite a few runs in most of the games that he's played. I mean, apart from the Mumbai Indians game where he was bowled he was bowled in tandem with wickets falling from the other end. I think that that was something that helped him quite a bit. And it's actually a case study in both kind of in two games this season for RCB, where against KKR, Mohammad Siraj bowled at a time when wickets are falling at the other end. And Akashdeep bowled against the Mumbai Indians where they were losing wickets when they were kind of in that 60-odd run mark. So in both these games, the bowler that didn't bowl in those phases actually went for a lot of runs. Akashdeep went for 44 runs in his first game, and Mohammad Siraj went for 51 runs in his game against Mumbai Indians, where he was attacked from the get-go. So I think with the two comfort zone bowlers and with Siraj showing kind of that he's probably more proficient at bowling at a certain phase of the innings than what Akashdeep has shown in, again, quite a short career in the top flight so far. That's why they went with Siraj. And certainly with the economy rates, I think that it would help them because you've got Harshal Patel, Hazelwood, and Mohammad Siraj, and Hasaranga as well. Maxwell can bowl at least 2 or 3, if not 4 overs on his day, and Shahbaz can bowl overs as well. So I think certainly economically, it's much more of an improvement to what they had against CSK. And for Delhi, Mitchell Marsh was in the side at number 3. Since they played only 3 overseas players in the previous game, they could kind of allow Mitchell Marsh to be played at that number 3 spot. And I was actually surprised he featured in this game. I thought that he'd be out for the tournament. I mean, he's fairly injury prone and he'd sustained this injury fairly recently. So I thought that he wouldn't be playing in this tournament, and I certainly didn't think he'd be playing this soon. So a positive for Delhi though. And again, this kind of shows the reason why, if you're looking at this lineup, this kind of showed the reason why I still veered towards Delhi to win this game. I mean, you've got that the explosive top 6, along with Thakur and Akshar Patel at 7 and 8, to really give you that overall balance of the side, as well as being able to hit boundaries at the end. And even without Amrik Nokia in the side, who apparently he's getting back to his best bowling rhythm in the net, Khalil Ahmed has been absolutely outstanding. So even without Amrik Nokia in the side, this attack is by far the most well-rounded attack in the IPL with pace and spin. And so Rishabh Pant won the toss and chose to field first. And I thought that Shardul Thakur especially was outstanding with the new ball and bowled at that kind of a very good line and length outside the off stump. And he got his wicket on the first ball of his quota. Anuj Rawat walking across his stumps, trying to play a very full delivery, basically a Yorker through mid-wicket. It didn't work in the end. He was dismissed for a golden duck. And I actually think from the previous game, and look, RCB have had sedate starts for all the games they've played in the season in the power play. And I think that it really hurt them in the previous game when they had to get a quick start in their first 6. But instead, Anuj Rawat couldn't exactly get going. And that's the reason why even against Mumbai when he scored that 66, he slowed down after getting 12 runs off his first 7 balls and then hit a few boundaries to keep his strike rate at that 140 mark, to lift his strike rate to that 140 mark. So I think in a 200 chase they were going to struggle with the fact that they had sedate power plays up till then. And that's why I think if you put either Kohli, Prabhu Desai or Shahbaz Ahmed to open the batting along with du Plessis, Mahipal Lomror is a very effective hitter in that middle order. He showed it for Rajasthan Royals in kind of the last season. So I think that he'd certainly be able to do a job in the side. And if you play him, you've got a case where whoever bats kind of in your top 7, you could say, whether it be international stars or the domestic talent, the lineup is in very good hands because they can all score at quick rates. And so Afaf du Plessis was dismissed an over later, caught at deep point off the bowling of Khalil Ahmed, and this wasn't a great start for RCB. There was a bit of a partnership between Glenn Maxwell and Virat Kohli. Glenn Maxwell getting a few boundaries, a couple of boundaries, really pacing the field. A bit more of a sedate start for Kohli. He was batting well, but they were bowling quite well to him, so he couldn't exactly get the start that he was looking for. And that phase was kind of, a rebuild was needed, so again, you wouldn't really blame him too much for taking it slowly at that point. He scored a boundary straight down the ground, a good looking shot, but kind of David Warner dived over the ball, and it went for 4. And the way that he was dismissed, like Alan Wilkins said, I actually thought that the previous ball was a contributing factor. He was told off a 13 before he was dismissed. And the first ball of the over, Shardul Thakur bowled a delivery outside the off stump, just like he'd been doing all through his spell. And Kohli defended it. And I thought that in the next ball of the over, he was desperate to get a run. And so desperate that he ran in a situation where the ball was still in the infield and there was no run there. An outstanding bit of fielding from Lalit Yadav, only 1 stump to aim at, and Kohli was run out for 12 of 14. And once again, twice in 2 games, RCB losing their top 3 within 7 overs. And with the partnership to come, I thought, look, you've got players like Prabhu Desai and Shahbaz Ahmed who have shown, especially Shahbaz Ahmed, across all the games he's played so far in this season, has shown a kind of great shot-making ability. I thought Prabhu Desai in the one game that I saw him play against CSK was outstanding. So I certainly thought that even if you're relying on the domestic players, this partnership this innings, it can be recovered, and I'm sure that if they get going, it would be in great hands. And there was a partnership between Glenn Maxwell and Prabhu Desai, and especially Maxwell really got going off Kuldeep Yadav's first over. 23 runs were scored, and that really set RCB to kind of a bearing which they would have been able to kind of assess the situation from the halfway point as to what they could, as to how they could go about things from there. And in the Wankhede Stadium, the teams had usually got kind of 100 runs in the last 10, like kind of thereabouts. So I think RCB would have still thought they have the power to achieve that kind of output in the last 10. And Prabhu Desai hadn't really scored too many runs in the partnership, but he was dismissed in a way that he'd be disappointed with. I talked about his shot-making ability in the previous game, but this was quite a hard kind of thing to execute in kind of something that brought about his dismissal. Akshar Patel bowls quickly, bowls quite quickly and bowls stump to stump. The ball bounced quite a bit as well. So this wasn't exactly the odds weren't too high for the reverse sweep to be executed, and in the end Kuldeep Yadav took the catch. So with Prabhu Desai being dismissed for 6 of 5 and Maxwell soon after dismissed for 55 of 34, RCB were 92 for 5 and 11.2, and you thought that Delhi were in front at this point in time. And for Dinesh Karthik, I think, look, off in the last 3 seasons or so, this being in the 3rd season I'm referring, he usually prefers to bat when there really aren't too many deliveries left. And when he batted for KKR, when he was batting kind of in the top 4, you'd say, he did struggle when he was sent out earlier. There were 9 overs or so left when he walked out to bat, so it was interesting to see how he would go about this innings. He started off slowly at first, but I think some boundaries of Khalil Ahmed really set him on his way. And he really unleashed in the over against Mustafizur Rahman, where he'd only given 20 runs in his first 3 overs before. And a 28 run over in this case. First started off by bowling a bit too wide. And with third man inside the circle, it was easy pickings for Dinesh Karthik. He then resorted to hitting straight down the ground in the latter half of that over, and especially in the last delivery, he moves to the leg stump and hits a low full toss on the leg stump straight down the ground for 4. Wasn't a bad ball by any means, and he was really in the zone today. He's been outstanding throughout this tournament, 66 of 34 for him, and he really should be in the Indian T20I side. I think ever since 2017, he's been absolutely outstanding, as I've said many times now. And if he doesn't make it to the T20I side in this kind of form, then there really is something wrong. Shahbaz Ahmed once again 32 of 21. He's really played some impactful innings in this tournament, and alongside Dinesh Karthik, they won RCB the game against Rajasthan Royals when chasing a score. In this case, after being 92 for 5, RCB would have thought that they were still in the game with those 2 batting and Hasaranga to come as well. But they would have realized that Delhi did have the momentum at that point in time. And a partnership of, I think, 97 runs for the 6th wicket really put RCB in the ascendancy. 189, really a game-breaking score, you'd think. And the bowling figures, Mustafizur Rahman's first 3 overs only went for 20 runs, but the last over went for 28. So an off day for him. Thakur I thought was excellent. Yes, his last over went for runs, but his first 3 he was outstanding. And again, a lot of these bowlers, you'd say that really 1 over kind of ruined their figures. Mustafizur Rahman, it was the last over. So was the case for Thakur. Khalil Ahmed, I think also his 3rd or his 4th over went for runs off the bat of Dinesh Karthik. And for Kuldeep Yadav, apart from his first over, he took 1 for 23. So again, 3 of those bowlers really, or we could say 4 of those bowlers really only having 1 bad over, ruining their figures. And in the end, RCB a mammoth total considering how the games have gone on this surface this season. And for the Delhi Capitals, they had a really good start. David Warner really got going straight away, 66 of 38. And Glenn Maxwell bowled the first over from RCB. And I thought it was a good ploy because Prithvi Shaw especially likes pace on the ball. But just like he dealt with Chakravarti in the previous game where he just hit him for 6s over mid-wicket, flat 6s over mid-wicket, that was the first ball that David Warner faced off Glenn Maxwell. I thought Maxwell, apart from that, again, bowled fairly economically in that over. He bowled 2 overs all in all, conceding 14, so less than the required run rate. And David Warner especially really gave this innings some impetus, and the openers really, the total raced to 50 in quick time in 4.3 overs. Prithvi Shaw though was dismissed by Mohammad Siraj, pulling the ball straight to Anuj Rawat at square leg. And after that, this was kind of the stage when the slowing down really started. This was pretty much only David Warner was kind of getting the quick runs in this 2nd wicket partnership. Mitchell Marsh 14 of 24. I don't want to really blame him too much because he is coming back from injury. But at the same time, when the ball's turning away from him, against left arm off spinners and right arm leg spinners, he hasn't exactly got the greatest of numbers. And as what I've seen him over the years, I think that the way he plays spin, especially when the ball's turning away from him, is quite rigid. And that's why 14 of 24 in this case. And again, he really struggled in this innings, 0 4s, 0 6s. And his innings kind of slowed things down quite a bit after that start because there's only David Warner getting the runs during this phase. And with Warner being dismissed off, let's be honest, a shot that was never going to work. I mean, he tried the switch hit of Hasaranga. I mean, it just, the way that he went about playing it, I mean, it just never looked like he would really get value off that shot. And 66 of 38, yes, a brilliant innings, but the wrong time to get out, especially the case when the set batsman in this case isn't exactly going too well, and he actually isn't set by any means. He's only faced a lot of deliveries. So I think that was a huge blow for the Delhi Capitals at that point. And even after that, I thought they were still in the game. Mitchell Marsh being dismissed because kind of being run out in the end with a ball hitting Hasaranga's fingers. And again, like Simon Dool said, it really summed up his night. It really wasn't his day. And I think the fact that he was injured would play a part in that. But his playing of spin, especially when the ball turns away from him, has always been rigid. And when I talked about other players, kind of these real bashers struggling when you're playing in Indian conditions, even on batting friendly tracks, I think there's a method that you have to use when you're playing on batting friendly tracks in India, especially on a surface like the Wankhede Stadium, where yes, it wasn't really batting friendly as such, but I think since there certainly was an opportunity for Delhi to get these runs, and there has always been some movement, especially early on for the bowlers, for the seamers at this ground. And I just think that Mitchell Marsh, there's a danger of him falling into the category that I thought Livingston would fall in, which is the case of really being those bashes, which again, if you're looking at the smarts and power, something which I've used those words in relation to the Punjab Kings lineup. I just think, especially with the way that how rigid he is against spin when the ball's turning away from him, I'm sure he'll improve from this point, but he may find it a bit difficult with how rigid he is against spin. Rishabh Pant, 34 of 17, was outstanding. But before I talk about that, I mean, Rovman Powell not coming to the party so far has not been a great thing for the Delhi Capitals. I think this batting lineup certainly looks weaker than before, despite the fact that it's a very good one. But you've got Mitchell Marsh and Rovman Powell have to fire because... Again, Rovman Powell, with how he played against India in the T20Is, he has shown that, he has shown that he can bat in these conditions, especially with the 68 he hit against India in that series. And that's why it's been quite a surprise for me that he hasn't actually come to the party at all. I thought ever since CPL 2020, he's only been on an improvement curve in this format. I think the T10s have certainly helped him to find his range. And after establishing himself, I thought in kind of the 2021 T10 tournament, which I kind of covered all 10 days with when I posted videos about that tournament, I thought that he was really good in that. And ever since then, he's been on an upward curve. So I'm really surprised that after, especially the 100 that he hit against England, the 68 he hit against India, I'm surprised he hasn't taken this tournament. I'm not writing him off yet. He is a destructive player in this format, and I think he's probably the best place to succeed in the IPL. But it hasn't exactly worked out for him so far. And with Lalit Yadav also being dismissed in the same over of Josh Hazlewood, Delhi was still in it because when you've got Thakur and Akshar Patel, who are honestly batting like proper batsmen in this tournament and have been batting like that for quite a while now, I think that certainly they were in the game with the captain in kind of a batting there as well. And Delhi weren't actually too far away from winning this game, but I think with Rishabh Pant being dismissed off the bowling of Mohammad Siraj, I thought that was pretty much something which spelt the game then and there. Thakur being dismissed off Hazlewood as well. It was too much for Akshar Patel to do. So a valiant effort from Delhi, you'd think, especially considering they were 115 for 5, and yet they still managed to make some kind of a game out of it with the bowling all-rounders to come. But after being 50 without loss, they've been quite disappointed by the way the innings went. There was only one phase which didn't go well for them. I thought that Mitchell Marsh's 14 of 24 that was the kind of the innings which set them on the back foot at that phase of play in the second wicket partnership. And they've now won 2 and lost 3. And you're looking at this side, and again, I don't think they should really be at this position. I still think they are one of the better sides in the tournament. And had the second wicket partnership gone a bit quicker, they would have probably won this game. They really made a good game out of the LSG game when they weren't defending the too many. And I think they should have probably won against the Gujarat Titans. The only thing that stopped them from winning that game was a fall of wickets. So the games that they should have won, but you've seen it even especially with the Mumbai Indians, where they should be 1-5, lost 1. But if you don't take advantage of winning positions, you really find yourself either mid-table or at the bottom like they are. So potentially they're a much better side than what the table says they are. I think they're the best all-round bowling attack in the competition. And I think if their batting fires to what we know it can do, I think Prithvi Shaw has been outstanding. I think the one thing you thought that how would he go by, how would he go is consistency. I think with the likes of Dhawan and Shreyas Iyer, etc. in the side as well, he wasn't the focal point of that side, so he could afford to be a bit hit and miss. But in this case, he's really discovered some consistency, and it's been really good to see. So, with Prithvi Shaw, David Warner, Rishabh Pant really being the fulcrum of this batting lineup, and you've got Thakur and Akshar, but who certainly will be able to add a lot with bat and ball. It looks a really good side, and certainly shouldn't be 1-2 lost 3, but that's the position that they are at the moment. And I'm sure that they will improve their quality side, but let's see how they go. And yeah, that's on this game for RCB. Another win for them. I think looking at the table, they have won 4 games and lost 2 games. And yeah, I think that with their more economical bowling attack for this game, I certainly think it helps them. And Dinesh Karthik, Virat Kohli, I think described him. I saw on Twitter, he said he was the best player of this tournament so far, and I would tend to agree with that. So I think that with the way Dinesh Karthik's going, with the way they're batting in general, I think that it looks really good. Whether you're looking at the international stars and also the domestic players as well, the batting is in great hands. And with the bowlers like Harshal Patel and Hazelwood, who's outstanding today, I think Simon Doe said on air when talking about Hazelwood and Thakur, where you'll rarely get a case where if a player plays for CSK, there'll rarely be a case where they end up being a worse player. I think you've seen with Theekshana as well. I've said about the fact that he drops the ball short and gets swatted, especially square of the wicket. And he's good. He's kind of been swatted 1 or 2 times, but apart from that, he's been on the money. And there's just something about the CSK environment. I think it's kind of been something that it really improves players. So I think that's the reason why Hazelwood and Thakur, they've really improved from their time at CSK. Even Faf du Plessis, he's really become this T20 opener because of how he went at CSK as well. So I think that was just kind of a sidetrack to say how I think that franchise has improved these players. But also a very good win for RCB, and I think that with this bowling attack and with how good hands the batting is in, I think their side looks really good. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Please share it with your friends. And remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?